Hello, Dawn Moore at Allegiance Title Company. Today I want to talk about tax prorations at closing and specifically answer a question I received about over 65 exemptions. First, you need to understand that under the contract, the buyer and the seller agree that they will reprorate taxes when actual bills are rendered, irrespective of what's prorated at closing. Paragraph 13 of your contract reads, taxes for the current year will be prorated through the closing date. The tax prorations may be calculated taking into consideration any change in exemptions that will affect the current year's taxes. If taxes for the current year vary from the amount prorated at closing, the parties shall adjust the prorations when the statements for the current year are available. This is a contract obligation between the buyers and sellers and survives closing. The letter that is provided by most title companies at closing is simply a disclosure as to what figures are used for the prorations. These are oftentimes the best information that the title company has available to them at the time. Adjustments may be made later because the tax rates are not set until the end of the year. Or, depending on what time of year the taxes are prorated, the tax adjustment or value of the property may rise during that taxable year. Now, moving to the over 65 exemption. An over 65 exemption provides significant benefits to the owner of the property in terms of reduction in taxes. The law, however, allows someone with an over 65 to move that tax exemption to another piece of property that they may buy during that year. And it doesn't matter what time of year that move takes place. When that exemption is moved from one home to the other, it is retroactive to January 1 of that tax bill year. So if we close a transaction in the middle of July with an over 65 on that property, we should ask the seller, do you plan on buying a new home and moving that tax exemption to that new home? If the answer to that question is yes, then the best tax proration we can provide for the buyer and seller is to prorate the taxes without the over 65 exemption. The homestead exemption remains, but the over 65 is moved. If, on the other hand, the seller is moving out of state and is not going to reapply his over 65 to another home, then we can prorate using the over 65 exemption. Irrespective of how we prorate at closing, the parties have agreed to make adjustments to those prorations when the actual bills are rendered. And this is a contractual obligation binding both parties, which survive closing. I hope this may have answered some of the questions you've had about how to handle over 65 exemptions. And of course, if you have any questions, please reach out to me on tip of the week at allegiancetitle.com. Thank you.